How's it going, everyone? Pup-Tart here. Welcome back to the Aeroteam channel. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to build the Gemini Titan II in 1:1 scale. The Titan II was the launch vehicle for the missions of Project Gemini, from Gemini 1 in 1964 to Gemini 12 in 1966. These missions included the first extravehicular activity in Gemini 4, and the first spaceflight docking with Gemini 8 as part of the build-up to the Apollo program. The launch vehicle itself was derived from the Titan II ICBM because they had a lot of those at that time, with heavy modifications to adapt it for human spaceflight. Now, like our other rocket tutorials on the channel, we will be building the Titan II in individual stages, so you can build it either as an assembled rocket here, or in a separated display, like this. So, as I mentioned, this is in 1:1 scale, meaning that every 1 meter in real life is equivalent to 1 block exactly. So this will be perfectly to scale with all of our other 1:1 rockets and aircraft on the channel. Now, before we get started, as always, this build does make use of our very own custom Aeroteam texture pack. A download link to the latest version of this pack can be found in the description below if you don't have it already. Now, if you are stuck using the default pack, if you're following along on console or something, I will always do my best to show you how to go about building this in default, but please do keep in mind that I highly recommend using the Aeroteam pack instead if you can, as it'll look much better. Anyways, with that all out of the way, let's get going on this tutorial. Alright, so first things first, here's some dimensions for you to help you figure out where you want to put this. If you're building this rocket assembled, it is 32 blocks tall from the base of the engines to the tip of the nose, and it has a diameter of 3 blocks wide. If you're building it in an exploded view, then that height obviously depends on how much you want to separate the stages, so that part's up to you. But with that all out of the way, let's get started on the first stage. Alright, so for the first stage, we're going to be first starting with a little bit of the fuselage body and then adding in the engines afterwards. So if you're building this close to the ground, you'll want to make sure that you have 3 blocks marked out of space before you get started on the fuselage of the first stage here. So with that 3 block gap, we're going to first start with a single black concrete in the center right here. You can clear out those temporary blocks. Surround this with a white wool on all 4 sides, like so. Next up here, this rocket is asymmetrical, so with a round body like this, you're probably going to want to mark out exactly which face you want to be the front side. I'm going to do this with magenta concrete, since it's nice and bright and stands out. I'll just place a pillar of magenta concrete going up right there. I'm sure you can tell from that dirt block that I've already had to re-record a little bit. Haha, we're already off to a great start. So, next up here for the roll markings, on the side that we just marked out for the forward face, we're going to be placing 3 white wool full blocks going up right here. 1, 2, and 3. Then on the rear block, 3 blocks going up. 1, 2, and 3. And on the side blocks right here, we're going to be placing 4 black concretes going up. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like this. And then a single black concrete on top of both of those white blocks there. So, as I said, these are for the roll markings. These are black and white stripes on the fuselage here that help ground cameras track its roll while in flight. And it's worth mentioning that on the Titan II, these should technically be 4 black stripes on the diagonal corners right here instead of 2 on the outer sides. But this is kind of the best I could do in this tiny 1:1 scale here. But once we have that, we'll next be placing 3 full blocks of white wool on all 4 of these blocks right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3 to finish off that there. Next, we'll be switching over to cobblestone for a section of unpainted metal on the fuselage here. So this will be 6 blocks up on all 4 blocks here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we'll return to this later here. First, let's put in our 2 Aerojet LR87 engines. So for this, we're going to be starting with a single... well, first we'll have to make a temporary block of space right here. So from that black concrete block right there, temporary block going down, and another top slab below that there. Next we'll place an anvil on top of this, aligned parallel with the fuselage right here, just like this from the front face. Then we're going to grab a lever, and on the outer 2 side blocks right here, we have a lever, flipped facing in towards the center, like so. And then an iron bar underneath the 2 exposed wool blocks right there. Then for the nozzles of the engines themselves right here, we're going to be placing a hopper underneath both of these levers, beside the netherbrick top slab right there, with the hopper tube facing downwards like this. This tube will connect in directly to a netherbrick top slab below both of these hoppers right there, and that'll kind of allude to the conic nozzle shape of the engines right here. Then finally, for 2 smaller nozzles here, we're going to grab the wither skeleton skull, place a wither skeleton skull going forwards and backwards, from that center netherbrick top slab right there. Engineering diagrams label these as hot gas exhaust cones, so that's what that's representing there. With that, that'll do it for the 2 engines for the first stage here. So, working our way up with the detailing now, we're going to grab the Acacia button, and only on the left side right here, we're going to place a single Acacia button on the left side of that wool block right there. Now, I couldn't find very many high-quality images of this, but it looks like it's some sort of registration marking on the side of the fuselage right there. Now, as you can see in the Aeroteam pack here, the Acacia button is a black wool button texture. In default, just use either a Blackstone button if you have that, or a Dark Oak button, depending on your game version. But with that, well, let's be dropping fences and running a raceway up the side right here. So on the forward left edge, right in this block right here, we're going to place a jungle fence right there, in between those two wool blocks. Another texture pack note, as you can see here, this is a white wool fence texture. Just use birch fence in default, it's probably your best bet. But then above this right here, we're going to be running 4 nether brick fences going up. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then a single jungle fence on top of this right there. Next, we'll skip a block going up right there. Then we have 1 jungle fence right there, inside the topmost block of those 3 wool blocks there. And then we have 6 crimson fences going up right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And as you can see, the crimson fence is a stone texture to blend in here. In default, you'll probably just want to keep using birch fences, but this is a much nicer alternative. So next up here, we'll again grab the Acacia buttons, or again, your alternative for default. And from the top block right here on the forward face, we're going to run 8 buttons going down. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Should overlap the white wool by 2 blocks right there. This will be for the black United States lettering down the front of the rocket right here. Finally, on top of this, we're going to grab the cobblestone stairs. And we have 4 cobblestone stairs facing in towards the center on top of all 4 of these cobblestone blocks here. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like so. And we'll cap off the top right here with a single jungle trapdoor right in here on the bottom half. And I believe this will be the top of the oxidizer tank right there. Now there's one last thing we can do to bring across the illusion of unpainted metal for this here. So, as you can see on the main build right there, we're going to be modeling the cobblestone with andesite as well. So, if you have access to World Edit, you can do this by dropping a temporary block in between these 2 blocks right here, selecting that, then down here, right-click to select that part, so you have this whole section here, including the stairs up there. We're going to type / replace cobblestone, cobblestone, then we're going to do cobblestone, comma, andesite to do a nice 50-50 blend. Then up here, we're going to do / replace cobblestone _ stairs, and to replace all of these seamlessly, we're going to do, oops, that's not how you spell stairs, stairs, there we go. To replace these seamlessly, we're going to do an up caret, then cobblestone _ stairs, comma, up caret again, andesite _ stairs, like so. And that'll blend all of those in nicely there. And if you don't have access to World Edit, you can just do that by hand with just a nice randomized pattern as much as you'd like. But once you have that, that'll be everything for the first stage. Alright, so next up here, we'll be putting in the Interstage section. So if you're building the rocket assembled, you'll want to be starting right on top of the forwardmost block right here. Otherwise, if you're building the exploded view, as I am here, you'll want to find your center block and go 1 block forwards from this, with a white wool full block right there. Next, out to either side, a black concrete on the diagonals right there, and then a white wool diagonal from that to make your little tube right there for the fuselage. This will not have anything in the center block right there, this is a hollow section here. And this is a very quick section here, so we'll just repeat this up once more here, so we have a second white wool full block there, then another black concrete right there on top of those 2, and then 4 black concretes right there to finish off that ring. And as you can probably tell, especially if you're building the assembled rocket here, this will leave 4 small openings in the side right here. So the Gemini Titan II didn't have a seamless connection for the first stage here, and you could actually see through to both the oxidizer tank and the bottom of the engine of the second stage here. So that's what that's representing there. But with that, that'll be everything for the Interstage. Alright, so for the second stage here, we'll be starting off first with our Aerojet LR91 engine this time for the second stage. If you're building this rocket assembled, you'll want to be starting this kind of inside the Interstage section right here. So from the second white wool full block up right there, you're going to have your nether brick top slab on the top half of that block right in there. That's where you'll be starting from. Otherwise, if you're building the exploded view, as I am here, you'll be wanting to start with a top slab just anywhere, separated as much as you'd like from the main build. Next up here, on all 4 sides of this, only if you're in the exploded view, you'll just be placing 4 acacia trapdoors closed against the sides right here. Obviously, if you have this inside of the Interstage, you won't be able to include those, so just leave those out there and continue on as normal. And again, in the Aeroteam pack here, the acacia trapdoor is a black brick texture to blend like this. In default, probably your closest bet will be a dark oak trapdoor instead. But from that there, we're next to be placing a single nether brick wall on top of this right there, and then a hopper on top of that, with the hopper tube facing down into the wall right there. Once we have that, we're going to grab our cobblestone, and place 4 cobblestone on each side right there to start off the fuselage for the second stage right here. Then we'll place 4 more blocks going up from all this right here to make a 5 tall section in total right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like so. Next, for a very small little raceway section right here, in this forward left block space right here, same one as we did down there with the main raceway on the first stage, we're going to place a single crimson fence in that corner right there. So you should have 2 blocks below and 2 blocks above, just like that. Next, up here on the second block down, we're going to grab the acacia buttons, and we have a single acacia button on the forward face of that block right there. And we'll do the same thing all the way around right here, just on the outer edge, just like this. So not anywhere in this inside corner space right there, but one right here on this side block, one on the rear, and one on the opposite side as well. This is just for a set of small black markings running around the top of this here. I'm not sure what they are, but they're there. And then to finish off the top here, for the top of the oxidizer tank, we're going to grab the oak trapdoors. We have a single oak trapdoor on top of all 4 of these cobblestone blocks here, and then a spruce slab in towards the center, like so. Then finally, we can do our same andesite trick as we did before. So select this whole region with world edit here, all the cobblestone, and then we'll run the same cobblestone andesite replace command, this one right here. Bam! And there's a nicely modeled unpainted metal section. And with that, that'll be everything for the second stage. So with the second stage done now, well, let's be moving on to the first component of the crew module itself. This will be the equipment section. So if you're building the assembled rocket here, this is where things get a little bit strange in 1-to-1 scale, just because of how everything lines up. So, well, first of all, you're going to be wanting to start this in place of the oak trapdoors right there. So you'll be clearing these out, and then placing 2 white wolf full blocks up right here. But if you're building the exploded view instead, as I am here, you'll be instead wanting to start with a white top slab, like this, and then a white wolf full block on top of it. Just because that's more realistic to the true dimensions of this equipment section here in 1-to-1 scale. But you have to use a full block instead of that top slab there in order to get everything to line up in the rocket. Just a quirk of 1-to-1 scale. That happens sometimes. Now, for this white top slab right here, this is the purple top slab in the Aeroteam pack here. In default, you'll probably just want to use smooth quartz instead for that. But once we have that, we'll be placing a single cobblestone wall in towards the center right here from that full block. We'll surround this with white wool on all 4 sides, like this. I'm going to replace that wall right there so we get the connections around it there. Then we have our 4 wool top slabs underneath that right there. Then in the center right here, we have a birch full block. And this will be representing the gold foil on the rear of the equipment module here that helps with heat transfer. And the equipment section is, as the name suggests, a module of the capsule that provides most of the systems for spaceflight. So electrical and cooling systems and all that are going to be housed in here. But with that, that's everything for the equipment section. Alright, so next up here, we'll be building the Retrograde Section. This one's even simpler than the last. All we have for this is a single cobblestone wall in the center block right here. Again, if you're building the assembled rocket, just start right on top of that cobblestone wall from the equipment section right there. But around this, we're going to be placing 4 purple stairs facing outwards, just like this. And again, as I mentioned with the equipment section there, the purple is a white wool texture in the Aeroteam pack here. Just use smooth quartz instead in default. So the retrograde section here houses a set of retro rockets that slows down the orbit to prepare for descent and re-entry. And so with that, that's all there is to it for the retrograde section. Alright, so the next component of the capsule here will be the Reentry Module. So this is the actual section of the capsule itself that houses the astronauts. So for this, we have a single black wool full block in the center right here, and if you're building the assembled rocket, just start that black wool right on top of the cobblestone wall from the previous section. But with this here, well, let's be placing a single dead fire coral fan out to all 4 sides right here, like this. In the Aeroteam pack here, this is a black wool vertical slab. In default, you'll probably just want to use a nether brick wall instead, something to kind of blend this cone angle together a little bit there. But this vertical slab is a much nicer solution for the geometry of the real module there. So, to finish off this capsule, we're just going to place a single black wool full block on top of that one right there, to give a section looking just like this. And that is all there is to it for the re-entry capsule. Alright, so for the final section of this tutorial, we have the Rendezvous Module. So again, if you're building the assembled rocket, just start this right on top of that black wool full block right there. But for this, we just have a single nether brick wall right there. Then we're going to be placing a white button on top of this wall right here. So, as you may know, in vanilla Minecraft you can't place buttons on top of walls like this. So we're going to use World Edit to trick this button into staying in place right here. So we're going to place a temporary block on top of this right here, then a jungle button on top, aligned either parallel or perpendicular, whichever way you like, it doesn't really matter, I just kind of do it this way. And in the Aeroteam pack here, as you can see, the jungle button is a white button texture, like this, just use birch instead in default. But if you have World Edit here, you're going to grab a stick, or any item you'd like, type the command /repl0 to switch this over to the replace tool, while holding the stick, then left click on the button there to select it, switch over to another item to clear it out, then back to the stick, right click on that temporary block there to paste it over, like so. And if you don't have access to World Edit but do have access to commands, another thing you can try using is the debug stick. So for this we'll place a temporary block out to the side of this block space instead right here. Then you'll run the command /div @p_debug_stick, like so. I don't have access to that on the server here, so I have to do a slightly different command, like this. We'll place that jungle button on the side of that temporary block right here, occupying that same block space as on top of that wall right there. Next, with the debug stick, we're going to continuously left-click on this to select the face property. Then we're going to keep shift right-clicking on this until we set the face property to floor, like so. And that'll trick that into staying in place right here. And I'm also just going to set facing to the other way right here, just to get it aligned parallel like this for myself. But once you have that, you can clear out the temporary block. And if you don't have access to either of those solutions, then, oh dear, what have I done? It doesn't like stacking. I'll worry about that later. If you don't have access to either of those solutions, then you can just leave that button out. It won't hurt the build too much. It's just nice to include if you can, since there is that little kind of white detail on the end of the docking adapter there. And speaking of which, as the name suggests, the Rendezvous module is used for rendezvousing. So this is what would connect to the Aegina target vehicle for spaceflight docking. But with that, that is everything for the Rendezvous module here, and that is all of the modules for the Titan II covered. Now before we wrap up here, I would like to make one final note on the 4 sections of the capsule right here, in terms of the sequence of components for assembly. So, if you're building a fully assembled rocket, you can obviously just build everything connected, and for a post-stage section diorama, you just include everything from the second stage onwards, attached to all components of the capsule there, with the first stage and interstage ditched. But for your different options for the assembled capsule as well, the very first phase, after separating from the second stage there, will include all 4 of these connected together in an assembled sequence. Then, after the conclusion of the mission, the equipment section would be ditched, leaving the Retrograde Section, the Reentry Module, and the Rendezvous Module all connected together in series. After firing the rockets of the Retrograde Section and exiting orbit, just the Reentry Module and the Rendezvous Module would be left, and then after atmospheric reentry for parachute deployment, the Rendezvous Module would be ditched, leaving just the reentry capsule left, and that is then what would splash down in the ocean. So, if you'd like, you can use that information to assemble a diorama of whichever phases of the mission you'd like. But with that, that is everything for the crew module here, and we can clear out the temporary blocks, so just get rid of that magenta tower there, and that is everything for this tutorial. So, congratulations on completing the Gemini Titan II! Thank you so much for choosing an Aeroteam design. We hope that you enjoyed building it, and we hope that you enjoy having it as a part of your Minecraft world. Do feel free to use this in any kind of publicly available project you like, given that you, of course, provide proper credit to the Aeroteam for these designs. So, if you have built this rocket, let us know. We'd love to see how you're using our designs. A link to our Discord server is in the video description below. Feel free to drop on in and show us what you've done. If you enjoyed, please do consider subscribing to the Aeroteam channel to be the first to see our new aircraft and rockets such as this when they come out. Make sure to have a look through the 1:1 scale playlist on our channel as well for more builds in the scale to see if there's anything else that catches your interest. Also, check out our second channel, Aeroteam Gaming, where we have more fun content with the team outside of Minecraft, like train simulator and flight simulation live streams. Anyways, that is just about it. So, thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.